Hello, everyone. This is High Priestess Tana, and thank you for tuning in to Tana Temple Healing Works. And I hope you all are doing great today. I know it's pretty early, it's like a little after midnight, but I hope that everyone is doing well. So, I wanted to talk about something very important, right? And I want to talk about why do people act so like just empty, like they don't have emotions, they act like they lack emotion, sympathy, empathy. They don't have really, I would say, a positive outlook on life in general. They're severely depressed. They just act like the world was against them, and they act like sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists. They just have a lot of bitterness, a lot of anger, and everything inside of them. That is because I believe that a lot of people are being wired to believe that being low vibrational is the way to be, because a lot of people, especially on social media, they are like bullies. People like to taunt people, they like to say very messed up things about people, but I like to call them keyboard gangsters, right? Because these keyboard gangsters, they really don't know how to say anything to a person when it comes to face interaction. That's why they get online and they bully people, right? Because they can't stand up to you as a real man or woman or a person and square off with you and let you know what time it is. Like, hey, I feel this way and that way about you. But it's really crazy because we live in a tough world and we have so many movies that are demonic. And don't get me wrong, I like watching scary movies and stuff, but I feel like that, it could be a bit overwhelming when there's a high volume of those type of movies being released and it's like shoved in your face. Excuse me, when you go to YouTube, you see all these trailers, and if you're watching a certain streaming app of all these demonic movies. And yeah, if you like scary movies, that's fine. I like scary movies, but you shouldn't watch them to the point where it's like overtaking your mind. Like if you feel like you have mental health issues, I'm saying don't don't try to absorb all that type of content because it could be dangerous, right? um if you know that your mind does not have the capacity or the, how would I say, the capacity or pretty much the bandwidth to hold all that type of information, right? So yeah, it's like every time you turn around there's something demonic being released, whether it be the movies, whether it be just, I don't know, like just overall, like just even when it comes to TV shows, it's not just the movies, the TV shows, and it's a lot of things that are being exposed. And then I want to talk about another thing I want to talk about too is like some people think that being evil or being a sociopath, psychopath, or a narcissist is easier than taking accountability for their actions and handling things like an adult, like a rational adult. People don't want to do the work, they don't want to heal. That's why they turn into these different types of labels like a narcissist, a sociopath, toxic, psychopath, you name it, a lot, or karmic acting energies or whatever. And people just don't want to do the work, they want to blame everything else on you or other people. But meanwhile, they're not trying to do the work, they're not trying to heal, they're not trying to make their life better by going to therapy and possibly meditating more, praying more, fasting more. They don't want to do the work, they just want to blame everything on everybody else, and that's not fair. I think that's just really, I would say, selfish on their behalf, because a lot of people get hurt when hurt people hurt people. You know what I'm saying? So another thing, let's see, there are a few topics I wanted to touch base on. Let's see. I think that some people feel like it takes too much work to be a good person. And it doesn't take a lot of work to be a good person per se, because honestly, you being evil, you think that, oh, I don't have no feelings, I don't have any emotions, whatever. I'm not trying to think about this or think about that. Nothing gets to me. I give no fucks and all this other stuff. Yeah, you may have that mentality, but trust me, it's not going to get you far, because you're going to get older and you're going to start thinking about who's around you if you make it to an old age, you know what I'm saying? If you're going to be an elder, so to speak, and you're going around acting a damn fool and scaring off every damn body, you know what I mean, because you're being idiotic, with your behavior and your demeanor is just ridiculous. But a lot of people think that's cool. Like, some people like abusing drugs and alcohol, and they're promiscuous and they think it's cute. It's not cute when you're possibly assuming that you've contracted some type of disease or virus or something that you possibly can't get rid of. It's nothing cute or funny about that, now is it? I'm just keeping it real. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just speaking from my heart. And also, I just think about, if you think about it, there are a lot of I would say, things that are being exposed in these movies. Like, I wanted to talk about clown imagery, right? So I was thinking off rip, because I forgot to mention in my previous video about the very mentally unstable young woman, Afeni Muhammad, right, who stabbed her manager 15 times, and it resulted in her actually uh deleting or killing her manager. um I want to talk about clown symbolism, because I was thinking about Ronald McDonald as well, and I forgot to mention that. Ronald McDonald, you have what else? Bozo the Clown. You have Pennywise from the movie It. You have the Joker and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Those are the top. And it was a movie called The Clown, if I'm not mistaken, too. That was spooky. It was giving me Pennywise type vibes as far as the appearance goes. And Terrifier, yes, that one is scary too. So when you think about it, all these movies have clown symbolism in it, right? But what they don't tell you is that when you think of these clowns, so to speak, a lot of times these people, although they supposed to had a profession that was supposed to be like considered innocent, so to speak, just to entertain people, um, they were scary. Because if you think about clowns, and I'm thinking about different dimensions, right? And how clowns could be like evil in a sense, court gestures. I'm also thinking of Harlequin as well. So it's a lot of things going on with this clown symbolism stuff. It's really crazy. And trying to see if I can turn on my monitor. I don't know what's going on here. Oh well, I'm not gonna worry about it. But um yeah, if you think about it, clown imagery could get to be dangerous. It could get to be scary, because every clown has backstory. A lot of them came from tragic backgrounds, and they develop some type of psychosis. And people, if you think about, what was that situation, it was a shooting that happened back in 2012. And this guy, that I think it was the movie, was it The Dark Knight Rises, that Batman movie? And this guy was dressed like the Joker, if I'm not mistaken. and he shot up the movie theater or some shit. That was wild, y'all. And I'm just thinking about how dark people minds go, because I always say it's like some type of programming or something involved, and it's very scary. It's very scary, and it's very demonic, and it's very otherworldly, and not in a good way. Because from what I was trying to retrieve some information that I had looked at before, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to speak off the top of my head, right? So if you think about it, um let's see. When it comes to clowns, some children are terrified of clowns. They think they look scary, they think they're creepy, they're weird, and that can be the case. A lot of times they could come off as being that way, but there's a certain frequency about clowns. When I think of clowns, it gives me like this trippy type of what you call it, type of energy, like different dimensions. It's kind of like when you think of Hellraiser, and with those alien demon creatures. I forgot the name of them. Um they call them, was it archons or something, like, I don't know, but honey, that's been so long ago. But anyway, yeah, and they have this like energy to them, a certain frequency. But I also say, like, with the clown imagery, in some cases they can be viewed as being demonic, because they come from a different portal, a different frequency that could be like related to demonic activity, depending on, I guess, the energy of this so-called clown or jester type of energy or whatever. I was watching this whole thing about it, and I was like, damn, that's deep, but it's almost kind of trippy too. But if you look it up for yourself, because that could be some homework for y'all to do on y'all own. I'm going to continue doing my homework too. It's a frequency that can be considered low vibrational and borderline or demonic, depending on, what type of shit you're trying to read about. But yeah, and another thing I wanted to talk about was like name meanings, and how it affects a person's personality, or a person's name origin slash meaning, and how it affects a person's personality. Right. So I always say, be careful what you name yourself, and be careful what you, like, if you have children and stuff, you got to think about that, about what you name them, and also nicknames that we give ourselves and all that stuff, because names carry frequencies as well. And if you are naming yourself certain things, you're going to start acting that way, and it may not be positive, and it can result into something that could be quite overwhelming and somewhat dangerous, because names carry frequencies too. You got to think words are like spells, and once they're put out there, it's like, spell work being manifested. So I don't know if y'all are aware of Knights Templar, but people was accusing them of worshiping a deity called Baphomet, right? And a lot of people was saying that the name Baphomet's origins is very how would I say, like, I'm going to say, like, not sketchy, but almost kind of hard to pinpoint to a certain extent. Some people say it's a corruption of the name Muhammad or Mohammed, and that was something that they were just trying to accuse them of worshiping a deity like that, was like that, called that. But if that's the case, why is it that so many people revere and actually work with this energy? They work with that energy. A lot of people say that it's an alchemical symbol, or not symbol, but I guess you would say it's symbolism for alchemy, like a alchemical, type of, it has a alchemical meaning behind it. But a lot of people also associate it with Satanism and stuff too. So, that's why I say, then some people, yeah, that's why I say you got to be careful about what you're delving into as well, and know the meaning behind certain practices and stuff that you may partake in, and also understand the frequency and the consequences and everything that could be, you know, attached to that. So yeah. So let's see. It also means something else about, I think it comes from, they argue that it comes from this Arabic word that means father of understanding. I believe it starts with an A. But it's a lot going on with that. But also, I was thinking about downtown Detroit and how much, like, I say that Detroit is the real Gotham City, right? Because the energies that's down there, it remind me, speaking of Batman and Joker and stuff, it kind of remind me of that for real. Like when it comes to the energy, like with the different, if I recall correctly, when I worked downtown, and I am actually from Detroit, but I worked downtown Detroit as well. I saw like a Scientology building. They said that it was a statue of Baphomet down there on top of a building or some shit. And it's all types of shit. We got campus marshes, and we got that type of energy from the statues there. And I remember taking pictures of those statues. And the lady kind of remind me of Athena slash what's the other name? Minerva. And then there was another energy there too with the green man. I call him the green man. He reminds me of Prometheus with the light in his hand, the light of Detroit, the spirit of Detroit, or something like that. But yeah, so it's crazy. And that type of energy, I just be looking at stuff and I was like, whoa, this is kind of, you know, creepy a little bit when I was as a kid, but then when I grew up and I was like, yeah, this shit definitely got something um attached to it that's considered, like occultic, I guess you would say esoteric or something, very spiritual meaning behind these things. So yeah, downtown Detroit is basically like a hub full of spiritual energy and frequencies and different vibes that are could be considered kind of dark in nature. It's very gothic. If you look at like a lot of the churches and stuff, the churches are like gothic style, and the buildings down there. And you'll see and then you got to think about Greek Town too. It's an energy, it's a frequency down there that's like interesting. But I'm going to cut this video off, and I hope y'all all enjoyed the video, the content that I just shared, because it's just something I was speaking off the, just thinking about up from the top of my head. Some things that have been on my mind for a while. I didn't want to overdo it, but yeah, y'all take care. I love y'all, and I hope y'all just remain just calm, blessed, at peace, and just